As many may know, areas in Asia practice the consumption of live animals, written in scripture as the consumption of the blood of life, a detail mentioned throughout several historical texts as the practice of the barbarians of Gomer and Magog. The point made in Jubilees chapter 8, which states, Japheth possesses 5 great islands in the north, but is cold. And continuing, the land of Ham is hot, and the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold, but is of blended cold and heat. It would appear that the isles of the Gentiles are meshed together between lineages. So rather than just saying that the islands are equally divided based upon the general features of our perceived continental lines of delineation, we can actually see the populations of South Asia, the population of Central Asia, and the population of East Asia have totally different types of climate within the same continental landmass. As we know, climate has an effect on physical appearance, but in this case, there are genetic differences between the populations that would also parallel the differences in climate. As we look at the Gentile climates, there is a visible divide between the areas north and south of the delineation line. Above certain latitudes to the north, we can see colder climates, and likewise, we can see warmer climates as we move south. There is a visible difference running from east to west in which the climates of bordering countries differentiate dramatically. When we analyze this line in terms of genetics, it appears that the populations on either side of the line have varying genetic makeups. Moving from west to east, we can see Caucasian DNA more prevalent in Western Europe. As you move further east, Mongoloid ancestry becomes more dominant until you get to the east coast of Asia, where Mongoloid becomes the most preeminent phenotype. Moving south into the Pacific Islands, Australoid becomes more evident, not just in the features, but in the actual bloodline. In fact, the Wallace line is a geobiological border, not just due to the genetics change, but also due to plant, animal, and wildlife. This area seems to be an Austro-Asian genetic border. A peculiar fact about Australians in general, although they share resemblance to the Negro, they are not considered Negro. Indeed, they are more closely related to Eurasians than sub-Saharan Negroes. This lineage currently has the highest amount of Neanderthal DNA of any population on Earth. That includes Caucasians and Mongoloids. What role do these people play in the lineage of man? Appearing more Ham than Japheth, but genetically more Japheth than Ham. Were the original races of Mongoloids, Caucasians, and Australians a result of the same progenitors? They are distinctly different races, however, the source of their relation seems to be pointing to Central Asia, whereas the lineage that is considered Negro has no relation to either one of these lineages through any percentage of archaic DNA. Although the scientific world has propped the idea of the entire human population migrating from Africa, the link between the Negro and Caucasian or Australoid is the interbreeding between hybridized species similar to human with the ability to procreate viable offspring with genetic fitness. Even in biblical context, the genetics of the progeny created peoples considered completely different in scriptural context. For example, Mitzrayim, son of Ham, is considered the progenitor of the Egyptians, and Cush, also son of Ham, is the progenitor of the Cushites. Both are considered completely different people. A Cushite is not an Egyptian no more than an Egyptian is a Footite, and a Footite is no more Egyptian than a Cushite. They are related only through Ham. but over time were represented by nations, borders, and people. One single progenitor can create multiple races or nations of people.
I'm leaving. We depart immediately. When Neo was in the ship with Trinity, being hunted by the machines, trying to reach the city to speak with their enemy and take back their liberty, they was taking fire. And though Neo was blind, he told her to go high. They started moving up until they got above the clouds, where everything was peaceful, sunshine all around. Cypher tried to set him up cause he ain't wanna leave the ground, playing in the same dirt where the dead bodies are found, fertilizing the plants, never making a sound. That you be heaven bound or you rest with a frown. The only way is up, even how I get down. Got y'all facing up like, you know, blackjack, like the ace is up. The black king face down, bet and shake the table up. 21, 21, 21 savage, how I play my damn cards. Hit the helipad, propeller like how we raise the bar. And I gotta say goodbye like Neymar, Baltimore is over. Psych Army, Air Force, join us, fly soldiers.
Tomorrow's over, got to be goodbye. Oh, tomorrow's over, got to be goodbye. Oh, tomorrow's over, got to buy. Got to buy.
Going back to before the Tower of Babel, but after the flood, the book of Jasher records the world population at the time. The sons of Japheth numbered 460 men. The sons of Ham numbered 730 men. The sons of Shem numbered 300 men, meaning that the world population was just less than 1,500 of those who were considered the sons of men, or Noah at the time. However, by the time of the construction of Babel, the world population had reached over 600,000 people. We know this because the number of men mentioned who constructed the tower numbered 600,000, as referred to in Jasher 9:23. According to biblical chronology, the Tower of Babel was built between 200 and 300 years after the flood. This means in that span of time, before the birth of Nimrod, the population of the world jumped from 1,500 to 600,000. The populations of Jasher 7 represent the sons of Ham as 49% of the world's entire population. Almost half the men on earth were sons of Ham. If we expounded that percentage and applied it to men currently walking the face of the earth, 3.7 billion people today would be sons of Ham. If we added together the populations of sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa, India, and Southwest Africa, that population would equal around 3.6 billion. The representative population of Shem was 20% of the post-flood overall population. Shem had 300 sons of the 1,490 men on the earth at the time. If the same percentage of the world's population is related to the ancestry of Shem, that population would be approximately 1.4 billion today, which would leave the current lineage of Japheth around 2.2 billion. Adding the populations of Europe, China, Korea, and Japan together is actually just over 2.2 billion people. Of course, the ambiguity of racial classifications is intermingled throughout these areas of the world. Not every European is a Japhethite, just as not every African is a Hamite. These locations are geographic indicators of the genetic stocks of territorial dominance. But in the end, an entire continent's history has been completely hidden from the narrative of the progeny of men.